Welcome to the session on Jolly English. We are absolutely delighted that you could join us and we'd like to introduce ourselves. So, would you like to go first?
Welcome everyone. My name is Meli and I'm from Bulgaria. I'm really happy to be here with you on the world today and giving you some tips about how to teach English in an environment where it is second language, and not only this, but how to implement it in a way in which you can do it cross-curricular, have a structured program which will result in wonderful speakers.
Yeah, and my name is Yvonne Dalorto, and besides being a trainer, which I really enjoy, I'm also the community coordinator at Jolly Learning, which means I get to interact with a lot of people like yourselves who are joining today. So, one thing we will say is that we only have about an hour. We can run over. If you do have questions, if they're small questions, we might be able to answer them as we go through the presentation. If they're longer questions, just write them down. And at the end of the presentation, we'll have an opportunity for questions and answers. So this is the most scariest bit, trying to get our presentation up and ready for you. So let's go how we go with this. And yep, it's up. Wonderful. So, yeah, welcome to the session. And as Melly said, both of us are practitioners for early years, and this is a wonderful resource. So, we're going to structure this presentation that we give you an overview, and you can see what resources are available within the product, and then also how we can use it as a walkthrough with lessons. But really more importantly, most of you would just like to know, how can we extend this and use this in our teaching environment? So there's lots of things that we will mention throughout the presentation. Is there anything you'd like to add, Melly?
So today we are really going to explore it and give you some tips and ideas how to use it. But the most important is that you will see really how it works in practice, because we have a lot of photos from the environment that we use them. And yes, we will try to answer as many questions as possible at the end, but we will make sure that you can watch the webinar, and after that you can always message us.
Okay, so let's get started. So, what is Jolly English? And Jolly English is a great way for young children to be able to get the phonics sounds that are from the Jolly Phonics program, but also do it in an interactive way, which is developing their skills, which is really critical in early years. And it introduces the 42 sounds in a fun and engaging way, but also in a way that is paced for children that are small, and how they can deal with their cognitive development with all the units that go along. It's fun and it's easy. And more or less, I think it's probably good to say that it's easy for the teacher, isn't it, Melly?
It's very easy to follow. As you will see later, there are there are ideas which and lesson plans which the teachers can follow. But what we always want to make sure is that the children have fun. And when we talk about early years, we develop several skills, not only one. And as Yvonne said, it is space, so you can make sure that at the end you know what results you can achieve.
Yeah. And as the title says, we are nurturing the language skills in preschool. So this is where we are targeting that this resource is mainly used for children under the age of 6. Would you agree, Melly, that it works really well with them? And a little bit towards the end of the presentation, we'll talk more about how it works with children and ages. It's a great resource to be able to use with academies, small groups, homeschooling, and also within your class environment. And I think we've used it in a school, haven't we, Melly? Both of us have used this in a school environment very successfully.
Yes, it will really benefits the children very well.
Yeah. And if we look at what is contained in the pack, you can see there's quite a lot there. Not only are there 2 sets of pupils' books and also practice books, there's a really good at-a-glance teacher's book, which we'll have a quick look at. And additionally, we have great flashcards. But more than anything, we have the beanbag and the magic beanbag that can do lots of games. And that's another thing that we'll be talking to you about. but they're very clear to follow, and also it goes very well with the children's abilities. Would you agree, Melly?
Completely. The materials are structured in a way in which you just need to follow them. And the playful characters are there. The beanbag allows you to make thousands of different games. And as teachers, we are quite busy. We really need something that we can implement immediately.
Yeah.
So everything is there for you. And I think what children like the most is that the flashcards are with real images.
Yeah.
As
And
you
this is,
will see later on.
yeah, this is quite important that children get to see real life images so that they can make connections with the wider environment. One thing I would say is that not every kit comes with the puppets. This is something that you have to ask for a teacher's kit, which comes with the puppets. But if you're just buying the books and the resources, you'd have to ask for those as additional resources to add. There are 2 levels that are available, which ideally we're looking at to cover 2 years. However, what I say I've tried is that mine went over this 2-year period, and this also had to allow for holidays and the school break. But it's flexible, it's really adaptable, and more than anything, as the children are progressing, their knowledge is on that spiral where we're always touching something that they've done at the beginning, but we're building on that as we progress with the phonic sounds. We also have engaging activities that reflect a bigger curriculum. And more than anything, it's a great way for children to learn vocabulary. And when we look at the teacher's guide, we can see how easy this is to follow. What do you agree, Melly?
Yes, they're really well structured, and it depends. I can see that some people are asking already questions if we can use it as second language. If their first language is not English, yes, they're completely structured in a way which allows them to build vocabulary in a structured way.
Yeah, and you will see that through the levels 1 and 2, that the ability for children to learn language, it's extended. It is really nicely, progressively paced so that the children are not overwhelmed, and we're building on that. More than anything as well, I think it's done in a fun way with songs, transition songs, and also activities. And as you can see here, we've got 2 full books, and once you see the contents, you can see just how much there is for you to do. And apart from the core, which is learning phonic sounds, children are learning initial phonic sounds, we have some great activities where that they are doing interactive games, they're doing mazes, they're doing puzzles. As you can see here, we're using fine motor skills. We're also using logic, and children can work in groups to do things as well. With a huge range of possibilities using this product. But more than anything, as you can see, it is a complete resource so that they are learning numbers as well as things that are to do with other core concepts in the curriculum. Do you agree, Melly?
Yes, and it's really allows them to develop multiple skills at the same time.
Yeah. And if we have a really quick look at some of the topics that we have, like, for example, in book 1, and as you can see, these topics can be easily connected to a bigger project. Perhaps if you've got themes, or you have, for example, you have my garden, my school, my farm, my home, all about me. You can connect that to all about me. And also there's some which invites children to talk a lot about their personal experience. And also you can add stories that you have in your classroom to this. The one thing I would say is do not change the order in which the units are put in. They are designed that they are progressive. So this is one thing I have been asked about, changing the order. No, don't jump just to fit a school topic with a unit in the book, because the children won't have the information that means they're progressing with each level. Anything you'd like to add, Melly?
The levels really help the children to build the vocabulary, and later on in the presentation you will see how exactly the new words are distributed in the different units, but they're really close to what the children in early years learn. So you can make really cross-curricular connections with maths, you can take them outside, and you can use different books, so you can make links all day long and use it as a foundation to step on.
Yeah, and when we go on to level two, you'll see that there's a lot more fantasy and diversion because the children are a little bit bigger, they can understand these concepts, and also it is building on the skills that they have for phonics as well as language. So there's a lots of scope with the 2 units, but more than anything, they're very complete for whatever reason you want them, and we will explain more about that as we move on. Now, when we look at the teacher's book is designed that it can be at a glance. Additionally, there is a lot of information at the beginning of the book to help you if you are not used to using Jolly Phonics or aware of synthetic phonics. One thing I would say is that everyone benefits from having training. So that's something that is not essential, but it is a benefit. And we have lots of trainers here joining us today who would be able to help you in your local environment. The lesson plans are easy to follow. And also you have the support where it is structured so that you can see what you have to do within each class. Each lesson is broken down into sections so that you can plan. And also, apart from that, there's additional games if you have time. Anything to add, Melly?
It's the lesson plans are really designed in a way that even if you're new to the classroom, a teacher who is just starting its journey, you have exactly what to say, which means that you can, even if you're a well-experienced teacher, you can add everything that you know in order to combine it with the lesson plan provided in.
And here you have an example of how the scope and sequence is laid out for you. As you can see, each unit has a color, but also you can see the stages of the progression of the lesson. And more than anything, it gives you the information you need for when you're doing your scheme of work or perhaps long-term or termly planning, so that you know exactly where you want to be by the end of the term or the end of the academic year. This at-a-glance plan also lets you see the concepts and the learning criteria we have within each lesson. But more than that, it gives you an opportunity to structure additional activities around the plan that's there. So this is your at-a-glance scope and sequence, which will help you understand the progression of each lesson. And it's very helpful, isn't it, Melly?
Yes, it really allows them to see what is planned in the program and to do their weekly distribution, so they know we start in September and we'll finish in October. Having in mind what abilities our children have, we can see whether it will take us 1 year or 2 years. Also, 2 years. Also, it's very important that we have the phonics part where they can see how the children are getting prepared for the next stage where they want to read and write.
Yeah, and also if you are used to using typical English language resources, you will see that there are a lot of components here that look very familiar, with transition songs, and also that children understand that they're working through the lesson in a prescribed way. So there are very similar competencies within this to help with language structure, and it's very, very easy to use. And on this slide, as Melly was saying, if you are not a confident teacher or it's the first time you're using this, you have your lesson plans all built for you. Now, Melly, some people think they have to follow this exactly. They don't have to follow every single bit within this. They can adapt it, can't they?
The foundation is prepared for them so they know what they need to achieve at the end. But for example, if you would like to have real toys, zebras with numbers stuck on them, some of the children can work in the notebook and you can extend this activity. So it allows you, the activities that are in the notebooks allows you to take them and turn them into life ideas.
Yeah, and we have a question saying, how do I tailor this program if I have to add it as part of my literacy curriculum? Well, as you can see with the at a glance planning and also the detailed lesson plans, you can extract what you need to fit the curriculum requirements within your setting. So this is what a lot of practitioners do is they have the complete lesson plan and scope and sequence, and they extract what they need and they plan how they're going to use each level. We recommend that you don't try and do 2 levels in 1 year. That would be a horrendous amount of work, wouldn't it, Melly? Yeah. And also,
So
yeah, and the children are very young, so we want them to pace and also understand the correlation with sounds and what they're seeing. So that would be really ambitious. But from this overview on the slide, you can see we have the black and white, which allows children to focus, and also we have the color resources, which add a little bit more diversity to the learning point. So the 2 books work very well within your program. And as you can see here, a little bit more of a detailed focus on this slide, where you can see that we have our introduction. And the introduction is broken down, learning objectives, again, your target language, what you're recycling, what you're doing, and then it goes into helping you understand how to use the resources and also the language. Now, the one good thing about this resource is that we are constantly using language, and it's passive. We're not explicitly talking about grammar here. We are passively introducing it. But more than anything, if you're not 100%, you have the dialogue there and you also have the story. If you've used Jolly Phonics, you will see there's many things that are very similar. But also, this is a great way to get children on that path for Jolly Phonics. Would you agree, Melly?
it is very important to have the preparation before starting the phonological awareness. And this is where Jolly English comes really useful, because you have stories which are sequenced, you have sounds which are introduced, and plus the notebooks really help them to develop their fine motor skills and allows them to use the way the children work. How do they work? They're curious. How do they work? They're curious, they're creative. So we give them the possibility using the flashcards and all the resources to provoke all what they're interested in.
Yeah, and I'm keeping an eye on the questions, so don't worry. And someone was saying, how do I purchase these? Well, we have our online shop, and also you have your local distributor. And someone has asked about using both Jolly English and Jolly Phonics together as a combination. Well, actually, you have the components you need for Jolly Phonics within this. This is a really good starter before you perhaps go on to a more deep immersion with the program with Jolly Phonics. Remember, we're trying to get children's language skills as well. So we will discuss how we're using these as we move on. And if you look at the practice book and the pupil book, you can see that we have the images which help tell the story. The children are using these. They're good for observation, and we'll be showing you how you can use those. But if you notice with the black and white, we're introducing number skills. Children are understanding a number and a symbol. And this is hugely important, because when we move on to things like how many sounds can you hear, when we eventually move on to blending and segmenting, when we do Jolly Phonics, children need to have those numbers in place. So again, it's another part of the learning where they're understanding a quantity and also the symbol. And it's very helpful, isn't it, Melly?
Yes, I believe that the word cross-curricular really can be used to describe Jolly English, because when the children are young, you can acknowledge so much knowledge, and when it's done in a way in which it engages all the skills that they need to develop. We're talking about our world, we're talking about animals, then we go to numeracy. And as we can see in the next level, we really build this on. And now they already they now work not with numbers only to 5, but in the second level, they work with the numbers that are up to 10. And the plot of the stories is not as simple as it was in the first level. And the stickers, the children just enjoy them. They love finding the stickers and sticking them.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you can bring out as much as you want from the activities, or keep it as simple as you like. And both Millie and I understand about the time constraints in the classroom, and that's why using the teacher's guide is a great way for you to find out how much you can put in. But ultimately, don't skip over the things that are quite important at this level, which is the phonics component, that we want children to be listening to sounds and also understanding how they relate to the visual cues that they are using within the book. So I think most people will get started with the program, find it is very easy to continue with. And as you can see here, they really do extend children's knowledge. And another quick look as before we go into our walkthrough about using a lesson is that you can see how it's broken down. You know, we have 4 parts to one lesson, and you can see the children are learning quite a lot of vocabulary words. They're learning the words also in a context, they're learning these in the story, and they also have a song. So are we still using the multisensory approach, Melly?
Yes, we are, because we engage all of the senses which the children have. And if we can give a short example of a song, the songs are really catchy and they're different from the Jollyphonics ones, which is really important so the children can get more experience. And the first one is really, really easy. It goes like this. Hello, hello, what's your name? Hello, hello, what's your name? Hello, hello, what's your name? Come and sing with me. And
Oh,
then in the beginning, we start with I am Melly.
I'm hoping
It's
that
your
they're going to join in with you, Melly. I'm
sorry,
Yvonne.
I am Melly.
I'm Yvonne.
Come and sing with me. So in this way, you can engage the children. You can introduce the characters if you have them with you. If you don't have the characters, you can also use just children's name, which helps them not only to speak in English, not only to hear the structure, but to be social emotionally involved, because everyone loves listening and being introduced in the classroom.
So as you can hear from Melly, it's very interactive, and also as you can see, a complete lesson plan here. It gives you the visual cues for what pages you should be using, and also in both levels if you're using the pupils book or the practice book, and everything you need. So I think you're getting the idea here now that it's a nice and clear and easy way to use. And we now want to show you how you can use some of the activities. And this is the fun part, because we know this resource so well, we can give you quite a lot of activities and ideas just from one page on how you can use it. Because one of the questions is, there's only a few pages. How do I use these over and over again? And how do we go back to them? Because remember, as children progress through the units, you can always go back to a page that you've already done. One, because children feel really confident about doing something that they've done before, but you can ask different questions and you can find something new. So as you can see here, we are doing this page, which is a great one for, it's in the pupil book, but the observation here is not only about night and day, but it's also about using language. So for this one, you can see that we've written down some of the ideas that we have used for this activity. And there's a lot here. And you wouldn't do this all in one lesson, would you, Melly?
No, you can distribute it in several lessons and you can match to the wider curriculum. So you can decide what else can you do through the day, and there are several activities which will follow, and you can see according to the pace in which the children acquire the new material. That's quite essential because the program is spiral. It gives the new knowledge, but at the same time it revises. The characters are introduced in the beginning of the story, but they also lead the story. So it allows the children to talk. Are they small? Are they to talk about different concepts like small, big, day, night, activities, which automatically prepares them for verbs and all the other things that they'll be introduced in Jolly Phonics and Jolly Grammar after that.
Yeah, and just some of the observations that we've put here, children pointing out what can they see, and also, the phonic sounds, we're focusing on those, likes and dislikes, and you can use puppets. You can make your own puppets, your own sock puppets. But one of the things you can do here is bring it out to cross curriculum by talking about likes and dislikes, as I've said. What do you like about going to? What do you like about your bedroom? What is your favorite story? And the most important thing is we're getting children to speak and communicate. Now, the big question is it in English? Of course, children are building up their English language skills, and they will be responding to questions probably in their mother tongue. Their comprehension is going to far outweigh their ability to speak at this age. But they will be beginning to use keywords, the keywords from the units that will be embedded in their structure and trying to respond. Isn't that correct, Melly?
Yes, first they will build the passive vocabulary, and later on it will turn into active. And when they respond in their mother language, we are half the way there because they actually understand. We can ask them to repeat, and bringing personal experience, as we will discuss through the presentation, is really important. How about bringing a picture of their own bedroom where they live, or taking a character from your toys to see it in reality?
Yeah. And someone just asked about the CD, and thank you, Joanna, for clarifying that you can download the songs and you can download the transition music and everything. There is a code for you to download that. So it's not essential that you use the CD. But as you can see, we have our page, but we also have the pupils book where the children are now practicing their skills. And if we look at this, it's black and white, and there is a reason for it being like this, so that we're inviting children to just focus on the activity. And here is using their fine motor skills. They're using their skills, which will really help with handwriting as they move along. But also, again, you can see this tricky when you're very small, doing a circle and following the moon. This takes quite a lot of concentration and also focus. But we also get another talking point here about going to sleep, waking up, a great time for us to do Simon Says, or again, as Melly has mentioned, talk about routines. Again, we don't have to just focus on going to bed routines, we can extend these out. But also, if you want to introduce color, you can. And I have used these pages for a dictated coloring. Now, remember that you probably don't have 30 blue colors in your pen or in your class, or 35 reds. But what I would say is you have a choice. You can color the girl either red, blue, or orange. So it didn't cause a big problem in the class, and children had a choice. We can color the sun orange or yellow. It was trying to make it easy within the classroom dynamics and the resources I have. There is no online teacher's book, unfortunately. It's all paper-based. So as you can see, we have the complementary activities which help children with their skills. And this is my favorite part, how we extend the activities so that you can use it as a complete resource in the classroom. Remember, you don't have to do all of this, but we are just sharing with you some of our ideas. And as you can see here, the focus is routine. Because remember, a lot of children don't get the opportunity to do these things in their house anymore due to time constraints with families, or even going to a childminder or having care. And these are essential for children to talk about. So as you can see, some very, very easy resources that are made, handmade, but these visual routine maps that we have up here are great ways for children to make a connection with what they're learning from Jolly English, extending that with vocabulary, and also it makes sense to them. We are teaching them something that is in their world. What do you say, Melly?
It's really close to their personal experience, what you just said. And when we think about teachers, we are overwhelmed. We need to prepare materials. We need to talk to parents. We need to teach the kids actually in the classroom. That's why the ideas that are prepared for you today are such that they will take really, really less time for you, and that they can really extend the idea. So you still have the focus there, but you can add some more things to it.
Okay, and I'm just looking at one of the questions here is how long will it take to complete both levels? This is dependent on you within your class. We recommend that it is for children under the age of 6 because a lot of the activities over that are really not appropriate for children who probably have got the skills in place for learning to write and also fine motor skills. Additionally, there's some countries that won't allow children to do writing until they're about 6, but the program has been very successfully used in these countries where children are using the other parts of the resources with finger tracking, also using the story cards and everything very successfully. But if you've already bought the teaching kit, the Jolly English kit, you can use that complimentary as well. We don't have enough time to talk about the two programs today, but it's something that we can explore another time. So as you can see, also extending the activity to arts and crafts, making this really complete with really lovely, colorful resources. And look at this, they're all paper plates. They're very easily managed and done. They're cheap, they're tactile, but also the children are doing something to extend what they are learning in their paper-based resource. It's making a huge amount of sense to them, but also the language involved is excellent at this stage. Don't you agree, Melly?
Completely. And it's very important for children to bring something which they have made themselves. And once they're able to say, oh, look, mommy, that's my son. So it makes complete difference as well for them. And we need really ideas which don't take a lot of time, because having in mind we wish to have all the long English lessons and to be able to provide a lot of activities, but we need something that can be done quickly, and it can keep its focus.
Yeah. And I think, as Melly said, we're both aware of the time constraints within a classroom, but equally how important it is that the parents are involved in the process as well, because many parents want to know, what is my child doing in class? Many children go home and say, nothing. What did you do today? Nothing. And sometimes having their activity like this is a great way to start a conversation, and children demonstrating their language skills as well. And it really is as simple as that. And what we have done is try to show you things that don't take a lot of time, they don't take a lot of money, but they're a great way to extend the resales. And this is another fabulous page from the pupil book. And what you will see here, we've got lots of bright, colorful images, and we have our favorites. We've got snake, we've got bee, we've got mouse. And this page is to help with the initial sounds, and children are hearing these in the vocabulary that we are using. So Melly, I'm going to ask you, what fruits and vegetables can you see? What fruits can you see?
I can see an apple.
And
I can see a lemon,
and
orange,
and
juice, eggs,
yeah.
pie,
And at the back, what can you see?
grozde. So you cook grapes. Quite often you see children, as we said earlier, giving the answer in their own language. In my case, in their mother language. In my case, Bulgarian. So it's okay if they reply in this way.
Yeah,
So you can.
and when they do that, you just say, yes, you are correct, because they are correct. They've said it in their mother tongue, but we want to say you're correct. They are grapes. You know, children will learn. And the next time we go back to this page, there'll be children who remember. And I'll say, can you remember this word in English? grapes. But we've also got the sun, we've got the snail, we've got the parrot, we've got the mugs, we've got a lot of things where we can go over the initial sounds. But also we want to use this page again with a fresh approach, and we can use it for lots of things like likes and dislikes. As Melly mentioned earlier, size, big and small, the weather, and also we've got small things. We've got a snail there. How many? We have 2. And look at this, 2 for children are using their understanding of math concepts. But more than anything, we've got colors. There are so many things that we can go back to for this page. And again, you heard me saying and. Every time Melly mentioned something, I went and. So I'm dripping in grammar very passively that children can hear. And when we move on to the black and white activity, would you like to mention what you do with this, Melly?
Here we have the possibility to give the children their opportunity to voice what they really like and what they don't like. But being black and white really allows us to be creative. We can use buttons, we can use stickers, we can use paints, we can use crayons, we can use salt and paint. So we can give them the possibility to be really creative. We can also, the apples on the previous page, they were red, but also in the environment, we've seen other colors. So the grapes can be green, they can be purple, so they can think about it. You can also use other creative ideas like tearing paper, so you can work on the fine motor skills. And what teachers really like in the classroom is that they are not limited to something that they must do. They have the choice and the opportunity to decide. But you can also use real food, so they can really try it first and then, let me draw from my personal experience. I really like this one. I didn't really like this one, so I'll do it the opposite way.
Just a quick look at the question. Someone asked, can it be used with 7 to 9-year-olds or 7 to 8-year-olds? That might be getting a little bit old with some of the activities that we have here. A lot of these are skill building activities which help with cognitive development, and children who are over that age of 6 or 7, they might find this too easy. However, what I would say is you have a lot of resources and materials that are the stories, the story cards, and also other activities you could do. So again, this resource works very well for intervention one-to-one, but be mindful if you want to use it with older children, there may be some activities they find extremely easy and may not be motivated. As Melly said, a great way is for children to be able to talk about the fruit they like. And here there are some very simple activities, role play. And if you don't have role play, bring in the fruit. Look at this. Isn't that great? We're able to do arts and crafts with printing. And also, I like the fact that, you've got the children sitting, having tasting. They were going into science concepts there, where they talk about sweet and sour. They're also feeling, something is squidgy, something is soft, an apple is hard. All this is experience that they can relate to as they go through school. They can remember their first interactions. But one thing I would say is that anything that you can do here, look how we're extending the curriculum and we're not even trying. We're talking about the vegetables or fruits, and we're looking at initial sounds, observation, colors, counting. It's huge, isn't it, Melly?
It's all what early years is about. That's why in some schools it is used as the foundation in the kindergartens.
Yeah.
It's used to develop through.
And again,
Again, some simple.
yeah.
Go.
You continue, Melly.
Again, some simple ideas which you can use in the classroom, which allow you really to get the children to use the passive vocabulary, but at the same time give them choice. What would you like today? Or what is in your basket? Would you like to add something else? I can see a yellow fruit. I like this one. Is it a banana? Is it a lemon? Also, look at these lovely ones with the sticks. They're just amazing, aren't they? In which they need to think about the size, to stick them together, then to imagine what the color is and to add the different elements. So many ideas which are easy to implement. They can work in the group. They can work in groups, or you can use the whole class, or you can show the activity. But as Yvonne mentioned earlier, communicating to parents, because sending crafts home is what they find pride in. And an easy page which you can see is from page this is page 8 from Jolly, from the first level. What do you see first? It's a teddy bear. So you first ask the children to draw a teddy bear. You can decide whether you want them to paint them or you want them to color it with crayons, depending on their abilities. But then what shall we do next? What shall we do next? We just need to think, what do they know? What have they learned before that? So I have here the Pew book, so you can see what the children already know. They know that it is sunny. They know that the snake is in the grass. They know that there is an apple on the tree. So you can ask the children to extend this idea. And as you can see on the next slide, here the children are already ready, and you can see that it is sunny, and the bear is in the grass, and there are so many flowers. So this is all the passive vocabulary that they have learned before. So now you extend the activity and you say, okay, let me see, think about it. And it's not necessarily needed the children to be sitting. They can be laying down, because this age is very important to develop gross motor skills as well.
I'm looking at the questions keenly, and you can see that people are wondering which is the best program to move forward with, Jolly Phonics or Jolly English. Now, remember, it is to suit your unique learning environment. And for some of you who may be working with children under the age of 6, this may be a perfect starter to ease into Jolly Phonics. We don't recommend you use this with children under the age of 2. It would be extremely difficult for them. But having said that, any exposure to language or looking at graphemes, understanding that they have a sound, is something that is built up. But a lot of children are not ready for this under the age of 2. It is a cognitive skill. But again, it depends on your environment and where you want your children to be at the end of the programs that you decide to use. All of them have their specific way of teaching, but they are both fundamentally, one is introducing the initial sounds and giving visual cues to help with that. And Jolly Phonics is then building on that and extending that with a much bigger and wider program. So it depends what you want to do. Would you agree, Melly?
Yes, it also depends on what the age of the kids is, because there are some people who use Jolly English alongside Jolly Phonics. But I also do recommend Jolly English to be the first choice, because it really gives the children the foundation. When they open the phonics books, they don't need first to teach apple, snake, because the children already know them, and they're way more prepared for the phonological awareness that comes with Jolly English.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at a response that Joanna has put, that in their school they start with Jolly English and then the children are really ready to move on to phonics. So it is a very successful program in its own right. But again, as we've mentioned, it depends how you want to use it. And if we look at this slide, what we can see here, it's the story sequence, and there are story cards. And again, we have our story, and the story then can be, as we say with all the resources, you give as much or as little from that story that you need to, because For some children, you may need to reduce the story down into a more simplistic form, or you can read it as it is. But again, there's lots of things to look at, and children are learning a really good fundamental skill that stories come in sections. So then when they move on to reading and writing much further on, they understand that there's a beginning and a middle and an end. And that's a big learning curve for children. So the stories are important. And also, if you're in a classroom with reduced resources, you've got a story. You've got something you can work with, and you have the story cards as well. And if we look at the story here, you can see the story cards. And I used to use these individually. I used to put them up, I blue tack them on the board. I would take them out of sequence, and the children would come in and say, that's not right. And they'd re-sequence the story. So we know that children are taking all this in using the visual cues and understanding as much as they can from the story. And the stories are quite funny, but they're also looking at the phonic sounds, and we can also use them in different ways. Isn't that right, Melly?
Yes, you can put the emphasis there, but what I really would like to put the emphasis on again is that really these flashcards and arranging them in a storyline really helps them when they start reading and writing. Plus this resource is very good because it when you show the whole story, for some kids it can be too much, what should I concentrate on? And when you show only one flashcard, you already give them what they're looking at, and you can use the colors, you can talk about the expressions, are they happy, are they sad, what do we wear when it's rainy outside, and it really gives them the possibility to build up the vocabulary.
Yeah, and of course here we've got for umbrella, but you can see here all the different things we can ask about this, just one section of the story card. And again, you wouldn't ask these questions all the time. You kind of can go back to the story and ask a different question about how do they feel? What about the weather? Who likes the rain? Do you have an umbrella? How do you think they feel? And good clothes and parts of the face. So that you can use these strategies with all the stories are going through the units. You don't have to ask the same questions all the time. And also another thing I used to do was cover up. I used to cover up sections of the card with a post-it. I'd cut the post-its into shape. But of course, what I'd be saying here is, can you remember what is under the red circle? So already children are extending their math concepts. I'm talking about a circle and it's red, a red circle. What is behind the purple triangle? What is behind the blue square? So again, we're using information, we're using vocabulary. And if we go back, the children have to remember what they can see, what was there, cover it up with stickers. And it's a fun way also for children to be engaged, because sometimes seeing the same resource over and over again can be a bit boring for some children, can't it, Melly? So
Yes, they really need diversity.
and this is a lovely story about a little boy who is more or less an elected mute. He made a decision not to speak. He has very high comprehension skills, and we know that he is participating because once he's heard the story, he is able to sequence the story accurately and also, when asked, point to various things on the page. Now, he may be going through a stage, a lot of children do when they're having 2 or 3 languages, where they just have a silent period. But we recognize that he's working with the resources really successfully. And as you can see here, he's enjoying it as well. And I think he's actually now up there speaking and enjoying. But it was interesting in this assessment how he performed well using the English resources that we have. So that's a little insight on how we use it for intervention. And Melly, what happened here?
Well, we can see here how children bring their personal experience in this lovely extension. look at all the umbrellas they have brought from home so they can make the connection with what's given in the notebooks and numerous concepts that you can describe, but what's the most important, joy. So this is not only in the books, it's not only in the books, it's real, something that makes sense to them. And the picture in the corner is my favorite one, my favorite type of preschool teacher's umbrella, because here you can really show how the rain falls down. You can see the raindrops, and you can have some pictures. They can be number related, or they can be related to the vocabulary. You can have dots, you can have numbers, you can have animals, and the rain will pour down. The children will enjoy walking around it, singing and dancing. But also, when you ask the children to bring their own umbrellas, the parents will say, "Oh, this teacher is really into what she does." Because in this way, everyone is engaged in the process. And when they bring their umbrella, even if they say it the first time in their mother tongue, after that they will say, "Oh, that's my umbrella." And
Wow.
they will really take pride. They will really take pride into what they do.
I mean, I think it's wonderful also because you got the opportunity here for colours, and also they're learning to put their jackets on, the autonomy that the children are picking up here. And this other one at the end there, the dots for numbers, we could also put sounds, we can have the graphemes of the sounds. It's absolutely lovely when we see how teachers have taken what is on the page and lifted it out. And Melly, how about this one, this umbrella? This is absolutely lovely, isn't it? Look at that.
It's a simple craft idea which can again provide repetition for the vocabulary. We've talked about flowers, so they can decide which one to stick. We have shapes. We also work on their fine motor skills at the same time, so they can really explore. Once they have brought their own umbrella, let me see. Do you like your friend's umbrella? What do you like about it? Oh, there was a flower. Let me stick one more as well. So they can make their own model. And when we talk about language, arts, and crafts, they always support and work together as well as music. And now
I'm,
you see.
I'm going to put the video on now, Melly, and
Mm.
I think it'd be good if you could talk through.
Patter, Peter, patter, rain is falling down. Peter, patter, Peter, patter, rain is falling down. So a very cute. That's a very cute idea, which can be used as extension because we really want them to do the raindrops, and they can just use their fine motor skills, and you can tap. But what we make connection with is nursery rhyme, which is really well known in the English environment, so they talk about rain, they know the story, and now they have the experience, they have the possibility to do it.
Yeah, and I think also really anyone who's working with children who have difficulty to fine motor skills, any kind of activity like this is really, really helpful. So we've been talking a lot about activities that support this unit. So let's have a look at some of the activities that are for focused sounds. And as we can see here, children are making a really good connection with the grapheme. They can see that, here we've got a G for grapes, and they get the opportunity to color them. But remember, children really work well having the visual cues to support that. And all the way through the book, we are complementing what they are doing with the pupils book and in the practice book, so it makes sense. And a wonderful opportunity here, again, using the visual cues, what would be the right one to do. And of course, as Melly said, they'll probably know this is an umbrella now, the umbrella, but we've got a lamp. So we don't have enough time to actually work through a physical lesson, but the sounds are constantly being dripped through all the way through with every unit, and also in a fun way that the children are taking away the information, and it's done so passively as well as explicitly, but passively through all the surrounding activities. Isn't that correct, Melly?
Yes, and it's also very important to tune their ears. There will be children who will catch it very quickly, and they'll be able to recognize them in the environment around them. But the other ones, it's really important for them to start tuning their ear on, so next year they'll be completely ready.
Yeah. And another few ideas about the activities within the books, you will find that we do have photocopyable masters that can be used for activities. Apart from the ones we've shown you, which have come from ideas from teachers, these ones are actually in the book. And apart from using them as they are, which you can have as a photocopy and color in, you can see we've done some extensions as well to support this. So that again, it's taking what's in the book, because maybe if you can't photocopy 30 pages of the lovely dragonfly or the parrot, perhaps you can extend the activity in a way. So there's always a solution. There's always a solution to using the resources. And I do know that for some schools there are policies on photocopying, but look what we did. We used another resource which has complemented the content. So there's always a way. And now, as we are running through time, gosh, it's going very, very just a quick overview on what are the games. Well, it's a great way for children to be introduced to the Jollyphonic system a bit later on, because we make the assumption that all children learn at the same pace, and they don't. And they're very young. A child who is born in January is completely different to a child born in December. That's a huge arc, isn't it, Melly? It also helps them get an idea of what's going on around them using stories and visuals, and also the wonderful cards that you can use in different ways as well, the flashcards. It gives insight into how you can develop the lessons for arts and crafts, numeracy activities. You can even introduce social emotional learning with likes and dislikes. The scope is huge. So it depends on how you want to use it. But more than anything, it's a great platform to move on to Jollyphonics. Would you like to add to that, Melly?
I think that just if you're searching for a really well sequenced resource that helps you to build to build the language development, to build the language development, and also at the same time allow you to extend to what you're currently working on, is Jolly English is what you're really looking for.
Yeah, but I think more than anything, what we have known is that it can be used in a diversity of ways. See them here as a complete resource. So for some nurseries or schools, they don't use anything else. They just use these books and complement the activities with arts and crafts, drama, with the things that we've shown you, so that we're looking and touching on the wider part of the curriculum. Or you can just use it just to support your English language teaching component of your class, your schooling, where the children have their focus time, where they're using this for English acquisition. It's really good for academies because there are things that you can do. It works very well with small groups. And it has been taken up homeschooling as well. As you can see, the benefits of using this is that all your lessons are provided and your scope and sequence. So we've got that pendulum of whether you need to provide a lot of planning or you just have your basic planning. It's all there provided for you, and you take what you need from the program. Isn't that correct, Melly?
Yes, we can see a diversity in the way people use it, but it's really important that it allows you. I know schools where they use it as foundation scheme. They just build it on. I have parents who come and tell me, please give me something to support what they're learning at school, so it can be used in different ways.
Yeah, and I think when I first used the book, I opened it up, and of course I was familiar with using Jollyphonics. And my first experience of using this was different, because it was a different way of interacting with the children. But the children reacted really well to the contents because it was aimed for their age and level. And that's another thing, isn't it, Melly? That a 2-year-old is a bit different from a 4-year-old. A 4-year-old can perhaps cope better with Jollyphonics than they can with the other things, but it worked really, really well. And more than anything, what we'd like to say is that have a look, have a try. We would love to know your feedback about the session, and also how we can help you more with sessions like these. And the one thing having a walkthrough is that you can see that it's not complicated. And additionally, that you as a teacher are learning and developing your skills. The more you use the resource, the better you get at using it and understanding how it works in your environment. Is that correct, Melly?
Yes, many ideas once you start using it. But as we said earlier, even if you're a new teacher that is just starting his journey, this is really, really helpful. And we really recommend it as a resource that helps the children to start their journey in the English language. But really, for me, cross-curricular is the word that says it all.
Yeah, and it really, really is a great resource, and one that I've had a lot of fun with in the classroom. And remember, the children are so little and they need something that is stimulating and fun. And even the songs are great, and it's so lovely to hear the children singing the songs when they're out playing or in the garden, or the school garden or the school playground, isn't it, Melly? It's just lovely, and more so when they're doing role play and copying the stories. So it does work, and Melly and I are hugely appreciative of you teachers and educators, because we do it for the passion, and this is the reward when we hear and see them actually using what we've taught them, isn't it, Melly? That's the best part.
That's the best part of it all, yes, to see the children happy, but at the same time, teachers being supported, enjoying what they do, so they can bring the jolly spirit in the classroom and expand it.
Yeah, and it's lovely to get the thanks from all of you, but we would like to say thank you for giving up your time to join us, because we really appreciate being able to share, and anything that you have done with Jolly English, or anything you'd like to share with us, please do. It is always a pleasure to see how you're working with the resources. I think you'd agree, wouldn't you, Melly?
It's we know how busy you are, but we are also really appreciative of the time that you give us, so you can learn some new ideas, and you are actually going to build many more, which is what we are really looking for, so you can make change in children's education all over the world. So we would like to say thank you for your time.
Yeah, and we look forward to seeing you again. And thank you, Jolly Learning, for the support for us to do this session. So I think everyone is saying goodbye and thank you. And I do believe that there will be a recording. So thank you very much.